This is finding vulnerabilities in consumer network hardware. I've got a bunch of this stuff. I'm going to be passing it around to the people up front if you're lucky. This is stuff I found vulnerabilities in. And I'll be doing a live demonstration. Hopefully, the gods won't screw me. All right, who can tell me what this is? That's right. You'll also see it's an old ass version, and you'll see there's that root password right there. Who am I? Hacker extraordinaire, but not really. Offensive security hardware research focus sorter. Father, husband, weed lord. I'm not afraid to admit that. What are we doing? The goal today is to identify and understand some of these vulnerabilities. We're going to focus on consumer network hardware, from physical stuff to remote exploitation. I'm not going to be focusing on, like some blade or something like that, because I can't get it for free. Okay, where do we get them? AliExpress, friends, family, eBay, Amazon, and there's one I forgot to put in. There's this company called AZ Strut. What they do is they're like a computer recycling company. And one of our good friends back here, he's actually over at the hardware reversing side, doing the badge and stuff. His name's Eric Osei. He's been doing it forever. He got me like 30 routers, I swear. It's like, show up to my house. He gave me this huge box, and there was like 30 routers and modems inside. He's like, do what you will with them, but do good. Little does he know I did bad. Tools of the trade. You need these tools. You absolutely need these. If you're going to do any kind of reverse engineering of hardware, you need this. Bus pirate. Do not cheap out. Get the latest. Don't get the crappy one. Don't get that CHA, whatever it is. Don't get it. Get a digital microscope. Get an SOIC chip reader. Get the good one. Get a hardware reworking station. Get a soldering iron. Wires, wires, wires. Clips, clips, clips. And afterwards, I will show you my little case right here of all the cool stuff. This here is a case. It's everything you'll ever need. Cost me about maybe like $300. Not gonna lie, probably closer to $5. And this has everything you'll ever need to reverse engineer hardware. We have your logic analyzer, bus pirate, JTAGulator, clips, 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 wires, wires, wires. Something I didn't put up here and forgot to, which is our, what is that thing called? Multimeter? Yeah, the multimeter. Yeah. And of course, screwdrivers. And one thing I always forget to bring, guitar picks. It looks like a guitar pick. It plays like a guitar pick, but it's not. It's used for prying stuff open. Chip reader. There's good and there's cheap. This is the good one. This one's made in Poland and they have really good reviews. And in this particular case, I remember I wrote, send me a smiley face, as like any special request. And yeah, he sent me a smiley face. I don't have it right now, but he did. And then there's cheap. You can get this, off of Amazon, AliExpress, or whatever. You could do it. I don't like it because it's cheap, but it does work. And it's $13. Digital microscope. I cannot say enough. You have to have this. I'm getting older and I can't see anything anymore. You want something like this, you can actually zoom in on stuff, you can actually read stuff, you can adjust the lighting, and you can identify chips with it. Bus Pirate. A lot of people have seen the old Bus Pirate. It's red, it's ugly. They've made some significant updates. This one is so cool now. It's all wired out. You just shove a wire in and it lights up. It does everything for you. Hot air rework station. You absolutely want one of these. Sometimes you can get it cheap if you want. This is about the good price. I like this UHA, or I think that's how you say it. Yahoo, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, you're gonna absolutely want one of these because when it comes to it, sometimes you want to get a chip from a board, but you absolutely can't do it. You heat it up, pull it off. Soldering iron. I'm not shilling for UHA, but they make good stuff for cheap. Look at that. Look at all those reviews. Wires. You want the DuPont wires. These are fairly standard wires. You want the male to male, male to female, and female to female. Why? Because you'll encounter sooner or later, you'll be like, I got the wrong one. I got the wrong one. Get them all. They're cheap. Clips. eBay is better than Amazon for your clips. One thing I've been meaning to bring up, there's the good ones, and then there's the cheap ones. These are the cheap ones. They'll work, but only for 8-bit stuff. When I say 8-bit stuff, you know, like it has 8 pins. 8 pins. And those work for that. But if you're going to go up to the 16-pin, pay the money. Pay something. It's called Pomona. You're going to pay $35 for a single chip, but you'll thank yourself. You'll be like, oh my God, I saved so much time. Okay, we're going to go a little over the hard stuff. It's not all that hard, but you'll pick it up. UART. UART is a serial interface. It's how you interact with the shell. That's how you pop a shell and get into a lot of these things. A lot of times, what will happen is there's these network devices. The developers, they just leave this shell for anyone to just come and jump on it. And a lot of times it's open. I mean, sometimes they'll even label it for you. They'll be like, hey, please, Joe, please open me. JTAG, full debug access. You'll see something like this, but mostly for like looking at like memory and registers. It's not really all that useful for me anyway. And then there's this other thing called SWD. It's like an alternative, and I never see it. You will always run into, when you're going after stuff like this, you're probably going to see JTAG way more, or you're going to see UART way more often. Ugh. We'll pass this out to the front row, and I'm going to show you what UART looks like. UART has 4 pins on it. There's going to be VCC, transmit, receive, and ground. You'll see those 4. In this particular case, we can access them with the wires for male to female or female to female, but not male to male unless you want to like solder it. I'm a terrible solderer. And actually, if you were to look at me right now, I'm kind of like doing the handshake. I can't solder for crap. This is JTAG, looks much different. There's much more things to remember and mess with. In this case, if you really want to do JTAG, I would highly recommend this tool right here called a JTAGulator. Funny thing about the JTAGulator, other than being ugly, it'll actually guess all the pins for you. Of course, always make sure you have ground or else it'll blow up. But anyway, it's not going to blow up, it just screws up your board. I screwed up a few boards that way, but if you, as long as you have ground, it'll guess all the little pins for you, and it's actually pretty cool. I don't know how it does it, but it does it pretty good. Baud rates. A baud rate. Have you ever heard of baud? And wondered what the hell is that? This is back in the day with modems and all that. Anyway, a baud rate is nothing more than the speed of transmission of data over a channel. Think of speed of symbols going across the screen. There are common baud rates in embedded devices. You'll see 115200, 9600 on the low end, and rarely others. That one you're actually looking at, I don't know where the hell it's at. That's the Belkin. That one was a special one. That one was sitting at 3690 or something like that, or 3684. That drove me absolutely crazy. Like, what is it? Why is it working? And it was going through 100 different things. Baud rate. Sometimes the FCC is your friend. Sometimes. A lot of times they're not, but sometimes they are. Did you know there's a website where you can look things up, where they'll actually have specs for everything? You don't have to take anything apart. The reason why is the government has mandated that if you transmit something wirelessly, then it has to be documented. They have to do that. It's like some law or something like that. But of course, China, they don't follow that, so you're not going to find much Chinese stuff in here. Okay, let's get a shell. Serial console access via JTAG or UART. Most likely it's going to be JTAG. We're going to look for them hard-coded credentials. And these are the different ways we get it, either bootloader interruption or exploits. I actually had videos. This is a video right here of me getting a shell. I could do it live. I don't want to do it live. I have all my videos here. Is this demo gods? I think that's demo gods. Like my land barge. Oh, really? Bet you can't hear me. Thanks, VLC. Of course you can't. Okay, I'll just narrate for him. Okay, so this is this black thing right here. I got this from my brother. I stole it from his bathroom. On it, there's actually, of course, UART. There's 4 pins: transmit, receive, VCC, and ground. In this case, what I'm doing, I think, okay, here I am. I'm looking for ground. Did I already go that far ahead? Okay, I'm powering it with a 9-volt battery because normally these things, they plug into a wall, but I jerry-rigged it to work off a 9-volt battery. See, works with this. And what I'm doing is connecting it to my bus pirate. Where am I finding ground? You know what? I forgot which one this is. Maybe it's the one of me getting a shell. I'm sorry, guys. No, 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 no. I swear I'm more prepared than this. I know. No. Okay. It doesn't want to work. Okay, so what you're basically doing is you're using your bus pirate. You're looking at each of the different pins you're plugging into. You're plugging into VCC. You're going to ignore VCC. You're going to do ground, and then you're going to do transmit and receive. One thing I forgot to mention on UART, transmit and receive are reversed when you're connecting to it. So you might wonder why isn't it working? It's because transmit goes to ground and ground goes to transmit. Okay, let's go back to finding ground. We want to find ground. The best way to find ground. Let's see. Come on. Is it going? Yeah, there's me. Okay, so when it comes to finding ground, what you're going to use is this little thing called a continuity test. I'm putting it in continuity mode. That's this little thing here. This is a little tiny one, but it looks like a little arrow pointing to the right. It makes a sound. When you find a grounded point and you test it on each of the leads with the thing turned on, you'll know it's ground because it'll make a beep. It'll go beep. And that's how we find ground. Since there's only 3 pins, we've eliminated 33% of them. Once you find ground, then you only have to guess one or the other. I was really hoping this would work with sound because it'll actually hear it go beep. Screw it. This is not working for me. Okay. There's 3 different ways of so what we're doing when we're getting the shell is we're trying to obtain firmware. The firmware has the good stuff. The firmware is going to have the file system. It's going to have all the binaries. It's going to have all the stuff we want, and it's going to have like passwords and all that. There's different ways of obtaining the firmware. Obviously, it's the vendor website. Sometimes if you're really cool, you can pull it off of the board. It looks cool when you do it. It looks cool when you pull it off, but it's really, really hard sometimes. And then the root shell. That was supposed to be me right here getting a shell. And by the way, if you see me afterwards, I'm going to be over at the Hardware Hacking Village, and I'm going to be demonstrating all of this because I brought a bunch of things with me. And you can just Google for this stuff. It's there for the taking. Look at this. Download it, version whatever. You can just go to the website and download it. And it is everywhere. Look at this, 2006 firmware. If you want to find those vulnerabilities, you know, from 2006, it's there. It's only 20 years old, but it's there. Reading chips, reading chips. All right, say you want to be a badass. You don't want to use UART. You want to skip the web. You want to pull the image directly from the chip. That's what this thing's for. This is why you spend the money. This is why you want to spend the money. This is called a Pomona chip clip. This is for pulling chips. This is for pulling firmware from a 16-pin chip. In this case, right here, we see JTAG because it's got the 8x8. It's got the whatever. And then this is an 8-pin. That's not what, yeah, whatever. All right, steps. First thing we want to do, what's up? I like audio. Yeah, audio will be great. What do I press? Whatever. All right. First thing first, when you want to like pull the memory, if you want to pull the firmware off the chip, you obviously have to identify the chip. Easiest way to do that is with that digital microscope, the right lighting, and a search engine. In this particular case, you see the chip, you Google it. You Google this little code right here, 25Q64FV, whatever. You Google it, and there it is, serial NAND flash memory. And it's a PDF document, and you can read it. Now, if you were to have this program called Rebel Prog, which comes with this, by the way, great program. You enter it in, and it'll tell you everything you want to know. It'll tell you everything you want to know. Here's how you wire it up. The other one, the cheap one, it doesn't have that. All right, clip and go. 16 pins. All right, you might run into a problem. One thing you'll notice on this thing, it only has 8. It only has 8 things on the back. It only has 8 pins, but obviously there's 16 here. So what do? This is why you want that Pomona chip. In this case, if you want to read 16, if you want to read 8, if you want to read an 8-bit, if you want to read a 16-pin chip and you only have 8, the way you do it is you only read the top. In this particular case, this is pin 1 all the way through pin 8. And this is actually standard. All of them are like this. In order to read it, you only need to read one side. And that's why you want that fancy Pomona chip, because you can actually fit the wires on the thing and actually read it. If you were to actually read it from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, it all lines up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll be handing this out right here. My wife. And here it is. You only pin one side. You'll notice on one side, there'll be that little notch. The notch is the representative of the first pin, and it's always like that, standardized. And that's where you put your 8 pins. Okay, hold on. I do got this, and I was saving this. I'm hoping it works good. Yeah. It will drive you nuts. You will keep clipping it over and over and over again. You can't hear it, but at the end I say prick. But you don't need that. You only need the chip. That's all you need at the end is the chip. And after lots and lots of timing, I finally got it right. Oh, that's another one. I'll get to that one in a sec. I'll hand this out right here. This is a 16-pin serial NAND chip. And you'll notice the notch starts at the top, and that's pin 1. All right, if it works. If you actually manage to chip it, if you actually manage to pin it, if you actually manage to pull it just freaking right, and you haven't lost your shit, this is what it looks like in the fancy tool that you actually paid for. You'll notice it has all the information, TFTP boot, it'll be like, yeah, this is the command line interface. Inside of this will be your file system. In this case, this is just your bootloader. Okay, root shell firmware extraction. Now what happens if the video actually worked? Okay, block devices. I really wanted to show you this. God, I wish I could show you this. But on a Linux device, specifically a firmware device, they use these things called block devices. The block devices will basically contain all the data, all of the file system data will exist on block devices. And if you want, you could actually cat them all into one file. When you have it all in one file, then you can read it. Then you read it into a program called Binwalk, but I'll get to that in a minute. There are 3 ways. So how the hell do you get the firmware off? If you were to have a root shell, right? If you have a root shell, how do I get it off? One of the big reasons is these boxes, this firmware stuff, if you encounter a piece of hardware, it's read-only file system. Read-only file system means you can't write anything. I can't just put it in the temp directory and pull it off. No, I can't do that. It's going to be, you'll find other ways to get it off. TFTP always seems to come standard on stuff on BusyBox. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Netcat's always there, sometimes it's not. I'm finding newer devices actually have a USB device on the back. I'm going to hand this out, except I'm going to go a few rows back because I feel like a lot of you people aren't getting to see how cool this is. But on the back, they'll actually see a USB port. A lot of the newer devices will support shares and like media servers and all that stuff. But what you don't know is you can actually plug it in and actually mount the device and then copy all the firmware and put it there. Okay, TFTP. All you need is a server. I use this program called TFTPD64. Run it. Transfer files easy. TFTP-P-L file bin IP address. That's it. Simple. Again, I lost my shit trying to figure that out, but it's simple. Netcat. This is the cool way to do it. Open up a Netcat listener, NCLVP, listen, verbose, port 2222. Concatenate the object, send it to Netcat. And it'll take the whole thing and it'll actually save it. It'll save it with Netcat to your device. Once you do it, you'll be like, whoa, that's so cool. But again, so when it comes to these USB devices, I find it's not, you can try and like, you'll think for a second, well, it's Linux, so obviously I have to format it for Linux. No. Since it's expecting a file system, it's expecting a Windows file system because it assumes it's doing shares or something like that. You have to format it to NTFS or it won't work. Trust me, it took me a long time to figure that out too. This is, like I said, I just said that earlier, recent-ish. You can see the little thing on the back, USB. USB 2, but it's better than nothing. Okay. Say you got the firmware. Say you got all of it. Let's see if I actually have a video of me getting some firmware. I'm working on it. Here I am, like Linux user, don't know what I'm doing. Is that it? Yeah. Yeah. Where are your settings? Top right. You going out of headphones? Yeah. Okay. Make it bigger. Sorry, guys. lots of trial and error. We got it working. And just so you know, this is not easy. This takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of practice, lots of pulling your hair out. But eventually we got ourselves a shot. One special thing about this is it actually has a USB drive on the back. I just said that. Yeah, that's not the video. That's just a test. It's not. Maybe that's... No. No. Maybe? No. Hmm? Okay, so I'm not going to lie. ChatGPT is your friend. If you can't figure something out, ChatGPT knows. They know everything. I literally didn't know why I couldn't get it to work. ChatGPT told me. There's no shame. And let's go back to the talk. Okay, so there's this tool, right? It's called Binwalk. Have you ever heard of it? All right, Binwalk is probably one of the greatest tools ever invented when it comes to hardware reverse engineering. Literally, you take a firmware image, you drop it in, you type in binwalk-e, and it extracts it for you. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to run a bunch of command line tools or all the other stuff, because there's a lot of command line tools that just takes all in at once. It does it all for you. Pretty cool. There it is. Just load it in. It'll identify the file system for you. It'll extract it. It'll tell you everything that's inside. In this case, this is an old CenturyLink. I wish I brought it with me. Okay, these are the most common file systems I've encountered. When it comes to file systems on a router or a modem or an embedded device, you're most likely going to run into these ones. CRAMFS, JFS2, and SquashFS. Guess which one I hate? Squash. Okay, digging into the firmware. Let's say we unpack the firmware, we identify the file system, we look for the goods, and then we try and init it and look to see what's inside. And you just grab this stuff. It really isn't all that hard. Here I am just looking for priv. In this case, I'm looking for private keys. And inside, once you have the firmware and you have the private keys, you're like, ooh, this is cool. I can SSH into stuff. I can decrypt traffic. It's all pretty cool. NVRAM. Okay, this is really important. All right, when it comes to routers and when it comes to embedded devices, like I said, it's a read-only file system. How do they store this stuff? How do they store config files that change? For example, if you were to set a Wi-Fi password, where the hell do you set it? It's a read-only file system. There's this thing called NVRAM. It stands for non-volatile RAM, meaning it'll survive a reboot and you can edit. Okay. Like I said, when you're pulling this stuff apart, always check the NVRAM. Always, always, always. There's such good stuff inside. So in this particular one, you run a command called NVRAM show. And in this particular case, someone named Linda, thank you for donating your router to me, Linda. This is her password, and this is her Wi-Fi name, and you can tell this is Belkin. That's that Belkin. I don't know where it's at now, but you want to hold it up? Wow, that far already. Cool. Okay, so this is pretty funny, right? This is inside NVRAM, I found a phone number. It was a password. It was a 480 number I had to call. He had no idea what I was talking about. He's like, who are you? What's going on? And if you want to call him, you can call him right now. I mean, I would send him a text. Tell him Joe sent you. Okay, so what happens if you encounter a file system and it's encrypted? A lot of times out there, you will find if you're able to get a root shell on it, great, and you can pull the firmware off of it. That works. But what if you were really cool and you pull the file system, you pull the firmware off using the chip, and you don't go crazy, and it's encrypted? What do you do? Well, a lot of times it's something easy. A lot of times they don't want to make it too complicated. It'll be XOR or RC4 or some sort of easy symmetrical encryption. The smart way to do it, of course, would be to do like public key, private key encryption, but I never ran into that. It's always something simple. In this particular case, I wrote a program. It didn't exist yet, and now it exists. This is a firmware brute forcer. I wrote it in Rust and C#. I actually have it here. What it will do is it will actually look for the magic numbers. So these, when I say magic numbers, all this means is what it looks like in the like special bytes, either in ASCII or maybe like a special byte sequence essentially for each of these systems. This is squash FS going one way, squash FS going the other way, cram going one way, cram going the other, JFS. Yeah. What it does is it will brute force through every single key. And there's 4 billion of them. If we tried to do this like 10 years ago, you'd be like, screw that, because it'd take till the end of time. But now we have the power, we have the technology, it'll run through all of them in like 10 minutes. It's great. Okay, so enough of this talking. Let's show me the money. Just show me the proof. I promised 0 days, and damn it, I'm gonna try and present at least. So here's one. This is that Amazon special. Did I hand it out somewhere? Where's it at? Oh, please come bring it up here. Come on. Sorry, guys. All right. I stole this from my brother from his bathroom. You can buy this thing off of Amazon for $16 or $17. Look at all those reviews. It must be great. What is the vulnerability? Actually, if I were to hook this up right now, which I will, if you want, you can actually connect to it and scan it, and you will see port 23 is open. Telnet is open. I jerry-rigged this thing to work off a 9-volt battery. Demo gods be damned. I hope I'm not going under or over here. Okay, so it lights up, it's green, everyone's happy. Let's go ahead and try and connect to it and scan it. Now that it's running, it should say setup or something like that. It should. There's Cactus Con. No, that's not it. I tried that earlier. And it's not Joe. Someone else is Joe, named Joe with this Samsung. Okay, demo gods hate me today, but what happens is you connect to it, right? And you port scan it and you will find port 23 is open. That's the vulnerability. If you have port 23 open, you're probably wondering, what is it? It's actually a root shell. These devices have a built-in backdoor root shell. But how do you figure out, like, okay, that's great. I pulled the firmware, I have a root shell, allegedly. What do? You got to crack it. You got to take that password file and you have to crack it. But I've actually found a number of these things, all are vulnerable to the same thing. They all pretty much look the same. Some are white, some are black. I found another one that was green. And they're all about the same price. They're all about like 10, 12 bucks. And I feel like they're all from the same company. So what's the vulnerability? Telnet, all right. So you telnet to it, open WRT, root, type in something stupid, doesn't work. Here's a video of me connecting to the thing. I already did that. All right. My brother's name is Steve. This is his Wi-Fi extender. This is the password. I ran it. It ran for like 2 seconds. It's a 6-digit password. 198277. I wanted to like have this device open and running. And what I wanted to do is I wanted someone to like connect to it and suddenly have a root shell. Thank you. You know, the demo gods. Setup or something like that. It should be here, but it's not. Anyway, if you saw something that said setup or guest or something like that, you're able to connect to it because it's unprotected. And then once you connect to it, you scan it and you see port 23 open. And if you were to connect to it, you'd have a root shell, allegedly. You're gonna have to take my word for it. Well, it should be like the most powerful one, the strongest one, because it's right there. I don't know who ComGuest is. I could. Let's just say it works. And again, if you find this device on Amazon, you know the root password now. It's 198277. Take that, look for it at your friend's house, and show him how cool you are. You have a 0 day now in his device. Now, I can't CVE this because there's no company associated with it. Even if I did, what are they going to do? Anyway, this is me actually connecting and it actually working. You'll actually notice this look kind of like the front of like my first slide, because it is. Like I said, there's a bunch of others. They're actually rated pretty high. $10, $20, noted. Yeah, they're great. But they're all vulnerable to the same thing. Really, really crappy passwords. I found them all to be like under 6 characters. There's another one, and I'll get to it later. Okay, who has the Belkin? Nice. So that Belkin right there is actually vulnerable to a remote buffer overflow. Yeah. STR copy. Who runs into that anymore? Now, the reason why I found a lot of times you'll find these vulnerabilities inside these devices is no one checks them. You already saw how much of a pain in the butt it was just to pull the firmware and then decrypt it, right? So there's no real researchers out there looking for this stuff. If you grab the firmware and then you manage to look through the binaries and then you pop it into IDA or Ghidra or whatever and you find a vulnerability, now what? Well, now it's all yours. Now you have a 0 day. Well, you're just going to take my word for it. It was UART. That was the baud rate, and it drove me absolutely nuts. And I grabbed the firmware, put a USB around it, ran Binwalk, got lots of bins, and yeah, do trust me. All right, use IDA Pro to find the vulns. IDA is better than Ghidra, okay? I said it. I don't know. I don't have a Mac. I don't know. Yeah, I could use Radar too, but I don't. Okay, do you see it? Right here. 128 byte check. That's our source. Now that's our destination. Character pointer source. It comes from an HTTP variable, session ID. Great. So you set your session ID, you make sure it's over 128 bytes, and then it overflows the buffer. Great. Easy. So, all right, here's what you got to do. In order to actually exploit this stuff, it's one thing to say it's exploitable, but what you actually have to do is you have to prove it. And the one way we prove it is we have to get the environment set up. So obviously the steps is we use a program called QEMU. QEMU is an emulator. It's free. It works on Linux, Windows, sort of, mostly Linux. You get the executable info. Say you pull down that binary, it'll actually tell you what system it works on. We need to get the kernel. We need to get the file system. We obviously get the file system, prepare it, and run it. So there's this little tool. It's called readelf. Will actually tell you everything you want to know about the little program that you have running, which we will actually use with QEMU. readelf, read the header, tells us it's a 32-bit header, big endian, Unix, MIPS. One thing I wanted to point out real quick is when it comes to network hardware devices, nine times out of 10, it's MIPS. I don't know why. It's just MIPS. And once in a while, it'll be ARM, but not very often. It's mostly MIPS. I don't know why. Maybe they just said, we're doing MIPS. Okay. Does it have to be this particular processor? No. So we just use this one. It's called Malta. Why? Better performance. It works. WRT actually has a kernel for it. You'll find if you're trying to locate some of these kernels, you really want one that's already built for you. Because if you try and build it yourself, you're going to encounter error after error after error. You're going to be like me, you're going to snap boards. Okay, so there's this website, right? It's called OpenWRT. They are a company responsible for making open source firmware. They actually have everything you need. They have the kernels, they have the file systems, they have everything. They make it so easy now, to emulate file system software and router firmware. If you visit this particular website, you can actually see all the little firmwares, all the little kernels. You need the kernel image in order to send it off to QEMU, boot it up. Okay, like I said earlier, I'm going to say it again. Screw squash at best. It does not work in QEMU. And I tried for days. Use ext4 instead. Do you know what ext4 is? It's the greatest file system ever for Linux. There's that other one, Ricer, with the guy that I won't go there, that one. So here's how you make ext4 work instead of squash fs. So you unzip it, you make a little tiny file, you make sure the block size is a megabyte, you run some commands, you shove it in there, copy it, sync it, good to go. So once you have a file system, this is QEMU. We set the processor, Malta. We set the memory to 128 megs. We set the kernel to that one we grabbed from OpenWRT. We set the file system to ext4. We grabbed that file system earlier from that firmware image that we clipped onto, or maybe we got it from a root shell or wherever. Format raw, i.e., I found I have to pass these, otherwise it doesn't work. I'll let you guys download all these slides for free, so it's going to be probably a lot easier to like copy paste than it is trying to like get it off your phone. This is a video of me running QEMU and triggering the vulnerability. Where's it at? I swear it's here. Oh, now I feel really dumb. Did you see that? Yeah, I did have videos of this. This is me running readelf, and this is actually showing you all the stuff. But we already went through that. Here it is. This is running QEMU. This is actually getting it working. Once you get it working, you can actually set the query string because it's a CGI file. We set our query string to session ID equals A. And when you run it, when you get it right, when you run it, it actually does our stack trace. 61616161. Very classic. You'll see this one actually old school. Just about every buffer overflow exploit tutorial always uses A. I don't know why, but you'll see that in memory 616161. What that means is our vulnerability worked. We saw SCR copy on IDA. We saw it go from session ID. We set it session ID to something really long, and it overflowed the buffer. Cool. Now again, this is on a Belkin. This is on this is like, I don't know, 12 years old. And okay, sorry. And you guys can have it. It's a 0-day. I don't want it. You can have it. The web response? What do you mean? Oh, it's just 500s. Well, the one funny thing about it is it actually restarts the back end. It restarts the HTTP server again. Pretty cool. I got 5 minutes left. I got to go through this. I'm sorry. I didn't write the exploit. That's why I'm handing this out. There's too much on my plate. I have a wife. I have a kid. I have a job. I do not have time for this. That's why I'm giving away this 0 day to whoever wants it. Take it. You want it? Take it. Just got to write the exploit. Weaponize it. Do whatever. I don't care. Now, what if there's this tool, this great tool, this tool that does all this stuff for us? It's called EMBA. EMBA is awesome. You run it, and it does all the stuff for you. It emulates, it looks for the vulnerabilities, it does everything. It's awesome. There's that other one I wanted to go through with that one, but I ran out of time. This is me finding a 0 day in the router with EMBA. Sorry about that. There is a vulnerability inside of this. It's command line. It only works on the command line. Vulnerability is if you pass something really long as a command line argument, hey, then it's a standard stack smasher buffer overflow. How do we defend against this? Secure boots, signing the right way, obviously. Public key encryption works, or a really, really long key. Disabling the debug interfaces. I actually have a few of these I'm going to show after the talk. They actually don't have UART ports on them. Hardening devices and configs. Those little metal pin thingies. Some of these have these little tiny metal things, and you have to pull it off. It's a pain in the butt. If you put that on there, then I'm just going to give up and move on to the next one. So why bother at all? So these devices are freaking everywhere. They are $10. They're in your brother's bathroom. I bet someone in this audience probably has one at home. They're thinking, man, I'm gonna go exploit this. So the impact on consumers and enterprises, obviously it's going to be consumers. You're going to be owning consumers. There's going to be botnets everywhere. I want to say a special thanks real quick to Eric Osei. He's over at the Hardware Village, and he got me this huge stack of routers. Like I said at the beginning, he gave me 30 routers from a recycle company called AZ Struck. My little brother for helping me crack his crappy little thing and stealing it from his bathroom. My wife for putting up with me for endless nights of doing this. My desk and all the solder burns. And there we go. And one more thing, I want to point this out. I tried to write the exploit. I really did. And it wouldn't do it for me. Please, here's a vulnerability. Please do it for me, please. No, I'm not doing it for you. Okay, there we go. Do I have any questions? Because I know that was really technical. We didn't have a lot of time. Sir. Yes. A router I did not bring with me. It was an XOR key, and it only ran. It was like something dumb. It was like 00 F0 F0 F0, something like you would think look cool, like they did it on purpose. It wasn't like 1 2 3 4 5. It was like XO XO XO. I don't know. Other question, sir. No, actually, I'm not that cool. See, when people go to my house, you're wondering, why do you have this weird, stupid system? And when I say stupid system, I run decos, okay? I don't run anything. I run completely consumer router hardware stuff. The reason being, no one wants to hack me. I'm like what's the word here? I'm not cool enough for people to hack into me. I'm like, zombies won't fight over me, so I don't care. So yeah, I've heard of Tomato. I've heard of OpenWRT. I just don't run it because I don't care. Question? Oh, and by the way, I want this stuff back. You can't walk out with it. Otherwise, I can't give another talk. There's the Belkin. What else are we missing? Where's my chip clip? Thank you. I'll take that. Thank you. All right. Thank you, guys. I'll be in the hardware village afterwards trying to show this off, how to work this stuff.